Wow, look at this. We're over top of LaGuardia. Crazy. Not a single plane.
What's even
going
weirder
anywhere.
is looking at the gates and they're all empty.
Yeah.
In the early spring of 2020, we tagged along with aerial photographer George Steinmetz as he captured a silent New York City at the start of the pandemic. It was a sharp contrast to his 2015 book, New York Air, one of 5 books from the award-winning photographer. This week, Steinmetz released his 6th, Feed the Planet, which focuses on the people and places powering the global food chain, one increasingly under strain from a worldwide population expected to increase by 2 billion over the next 40 years. Brooke Silva Braga takes a look.
Alexander Field, Southwood County Airport, Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Wind 360 at 11.
For 10 years, George Steinmetz, camera in tow, has been seeking out new perspectives on how humans feed ourselves.
This is the Dempsey farm where I was this morning, right here.
But the challenge is many of those key moments, like a sea of floating red cranberries ready for harvest here in Wisconsin, can be hard to find and last just a few hours each year.
There's some more right down there, some more marshes, but I don't see any red. No.
Then, suddenly,
How about there on the left?
jackpot.
Yes, that's a good area right there, about our 10 o'clock.
Millions of cranberries bobbing to the surface.
This is really good.
But that's just step 1 for Steinmetz. While planes cover the big distances needed for his scouting,
Taking off.
Steinmetz prefers the steady hover of a high-end drone for his final photos.
It looks kind of boring down here, but you get up and it just opens up the landscape. Big, like carpets of red. It's really beautiful.
By lingering above the scene, Steinmetz can wait for something special to happen. In this case, a flock of birds passing just below.
Via birds?
Oh, that's so great. Wow, that's such a fun accident, huh?
Yeah, you get these little serendipitous moments like that.
Cool.
The product of his decade-long pursuit of those serendipitous moments is Feed the Planet, a photographic journey to the world's food.
Most expensive food in the world is saffron.
$1,200 a pound.
Sure.
But you got to do a lot of these to get to a pound.
You take every little flower part, and they only flower like 1 week a year.
What jumps off the page isn't just the beauty and scale of our food system,
Growing lettuce in Salinas, cabbage in the Netherlands.
but the difficult questions raised by even basic choices over what we eat and drink.
You go to the Starbucks and you want the Ethiopian and the Rwandan, and it's like, would you want to have it done by machine, so it's like all techno, or do you want it really old school? But is that unethical to be paying women $2 a day to do it by hand? Or in Brazil, they have a robot in there that's scanning every single bean with a laser and deciding which ones are good. It's like, these are complicated issues.
Steinmetz traveled to 36 countries and 27 states for the project.
And we got the juice covered.
And they're both the same density of birds on both sides?
Yeah.
You must be Rod.
Many farmers and ranchers welcomed him, but not all. In 2013, Steinmetz was arrested after taking these pictures of cows in Kansas. Some of the state laws banning photography of agriculture have recently been struck down as unconstitutional. But just this year, Kentucky made it illegal to photograph feedlots from the air. And being welcomed inside, that's even harder.
So I was never able to get into a slaughterhouse in the United States. And I was able to do that in Brazil and China, but I could never get in one in the U.S.
That is kind of striking. You can get in China, but not here.
Yeah.
What he found in Brazil and China is the essence of his project, the immense scale needed to feed a growing global population that increasingly has the money and desire to eat more and more meat.
How do you process 30,000 pigs in a day? And what do you do with the ears? And what do you do with the intestines? And it's an amazing operation. And I mean that sincerely. But then you look at the pictures and most people think, oh, it's disgusting. But I'm trying to be fair to the people there at the pig factory as well as to the consumer.
Would you be okay with me flying a very small drone here, like a rooftop level?
Steinmetz has been using his camera to make people more aware of the wider world for almost half a century, a path that seemed unlikely as a kid from Beverly Hills. He went to Stanford in the 1970s to study geophysics, but before he could graduate, a nagging wanderlust drew Steinmetz to Africa. He traveled across the continent for a year.
Photography is very different than because it was with film, and so I couldn't see what I was doing.
And there must have been a photo that you were most anxious to go home and see if it turned out.
Well, I had a lot of them, and then I remember I stayed up all night when I got home to look through all the pictures, and it was crushingly disappointing because you have all these incredible experiences you remember, and you see all these bad pictures, and I just didn't know what I was doing. But I loved the process.
The mix of that love and his newfound knowledge of Africa landed Steinmetz some paying assignments, culminating in a gig at National Geographic that came with a problem.
I proposed this big story in the Sahara, and there were no planes or helicopters to hire, and so I had to bring my own kind of aircraft.
What he came up with was a motorized paraglider. Flying it opened up new horizons.
Because you couldn't take this picture any other way. Even if you had a chopper, it would scare the camels.
Yes, there was a crash or two, but for years, the glider was Steinmetz's meal ticket, yielding him photos no one else could get. Then the drone arrived, democratizing aerial photography. And during this last decade, even Steinmetz has ditched the glider.
Brooke, the nicer way to do this is to do this in the car.
Finding he could get better photos from the safety of a warm car.
A little less sport in it, though.
A lot less sporty. It is, to be honest, when you fly it with the paraglider, you have skin in the game, and it is a lot more satisfying.
The march of technology is also one of the main themes of Feed the Planet. The robotic milking machine at Gary Kregel's Iowa dairy farm. Just miles away, real-time corn crop data in Mason Reimer's harvester.
It's telling us the amount of bushels per acre.
In the 1870s, the Gaynor cranberry farm used child labor for the harvest. Now it needs hardly any labor at all.
Less than 2% of the population involved in farming and providing our food. And so it's like 2% is feeding everybody else. And you have people who are voting, who are trying to control farmers, and they don't really know what the farmers are doing. And so it's like you got like 98 backseat drivers trying to tell a farmer what to do. And it doesn't work so well.
But maybe, Steinmetz hopes, illuminating how our food is made can help bridge that gap between those often hidden producers and our increasingly enormous appetites. For CBS Saturday Morning, Brooke Silva Braga, Clayton County, Iowa.
I just think about 2 billion more people on this planet in the next 40 years.
Right.
It's incredible to think that we can actually feed that number. And this is the way we'll see if it happens.
Those pictures were